After 40 minutes on a Saturday night means 32 Thoughts presented by GMC and the new Sierra AT4 and X. As always, Jeff, Marek and Elliotte Friedman are here. And Jeff, breaking news.
Yeah, this just announced a couple of moments ago. Washington's Nicholas Obey-Kubel has been suspended 3 games by the NHL for that hit on Tampa's Cal Foote. Kubel was recently, of course, claimed off waivers from the Toronto Maple Leafs to Washington. He will now sit for 3 games. That was a tough hit to watch, Elliotte.
Meanwhile, earlier this afternoon, the good news for the Ottawa Senators was they ended their 7-game losing streak. The bad news is that the status of Thomas Chabot is in question. This was the opening minute of the third period. He's hit by Travis Konechny and did not return. Now, there's no clarity on this right now, and I'm sure we'll probably have to see how Chabot looks and feels tomorrow as the team returns home from the road trip. But what it might do is accelerate Ottawa's attempts to find another defenseman. It's been well known out there. The GM, Pierre Dorion, has been trying to do it. He's been, as another couple of teams said, he's been looking under every rock you can think of to find a defender. I think there's a couple of things that are coming up against it, though. Number one is that he doesn't want to do anything insane, and he wants to be careful with any move he makes and doesn't want to make a desperate trade that looks bad for years to come. And I think the other thing, too, is a couple teams remind me there's still a lot of players who have partial no-trade clauses into Canada, and that makes it even more challenging for a team like Ottawa or the other Canadian clubs when it comes to adding players.
Nice win for Claude Giroux, obviously, in Philadelphia. And Nick Holden played his 600th NHL game today, so congrats to Nick. And Tyson Barrie and the Oilers, a big win at Florida. So the general manager set to meet.
Yes, this will be Tuesday. Ron and Elliotte, and as you guys both know, a lot of what we see and hear about on Tuesday sort of sets up the bigger general managers meeting in March. But there's a couple of things that are on the table and up for discussion. One of them will be Coach's Challenge, and we suspect that there's a lot of people around the NHL that weren't exactly thrilled that Trevor Zegras had a goal called back last week. We'll have another look at it. It's the Michigan goal, and it's a thing of beauty. It's Trevor Zegras after all, and this is more of what the NHL wants. This one was called back on an offside review. I know a lot of managers didn't like it. I'm not sure they can do anything about it right now, but it will be part of the discussion. Also, there'll be an update on rule changes as well, namely the rescinding of major penalties, giving the officials the ability to rescind those upon video review. Also, a couple of legal updates, and I would imagine that the name Mitchell Miller will come up as well in these conversations. And speaking of Miller, a couple of people, talking to me the last couple of days of what's going to happen with Mitchell Miller's contract. Now, a couple of things are starting to emerge. One, the NHL, the Players Association, and the Miller camp could come to some type of understanding on what to do with the contract, how to terminate it, and what the compensation would be. But as of earlier on today, I was told none of those conversations have happened yet. What might be more likely is Miller stays in the American Hockey League, earns his AHL salary. He's on a 2-way deal, as we all know, and then in the offseason gets bought out at 1/3 of the remaining 2 years on that contract. That would be a value of $516,000 spread out over 4 seasons, according to Cap Friendly. That would be the NHL contract, not the AHL contract that is mandated in the CBA.
Elliotte, during our first intermission, Kevin Bieksa was musing about Bo Horvat and his contract status. Are you hearing anything?
Just a couple of things with Vancouver here and in Toronto. Jim Rutherford is on the trip, as you've seen during the game. The agent, Pat Morris, is based in Toronto, was wondering if they would meet this weekend. I'm told the answer is no, that there are no meetings scheduled, so that continues. And, I also heard you guys, Ron, talking about Bruce Boudreau and his future and all the commentary this week. Look, the one thing I get a real sense of just being around Vancouver for a couple days is that I think there's a lot of people who would like an answer one way or the other, and they just don't like the way that it's kind of just hanging there. Some clarity, I think, would be appreciated. Also, Calgary late tonight in our game against Winnipeg, 7 losses in a row. I heard this week the Flames have been looking around for a scoring forward. I've been told that's been going on since August, so I don't think there's anything pressing on that one right now. I do think if there's a team to keep an eye on right now, it might be St. Louis.
Okay, we're down to about 60 seconds.
World Cup pushed to 2025. The players want best on best. The Russian situation essentially making that guy's a non-starter. The NHL and the PA did go down the road on this one. Prelims would have been in North America and in Europe. The finals in North America, Eastern as well, not in the West. Those would have been the semifinals and the finals, Elliotte.
I have an idea. It's just a throwaway idea. If they can't have one in 2025, do a Canada versus U.S. That's 2 out of 3 in North America somewhere. Men and women, put the 4 teams in the same city and just do something fun. Because I think there's a lot of North American players who'd like one more chance, like the Europeans probably would too, want one more chance to play the Canada-U.S. and go head-to-head against each other.
Really quickly, cool story happening in the Western Hockey League right now with Connor Bedard of the Regina Pats. His Pats are hitting the road tomorrow, playing the Saskatoon Blades. Normally they draw 3,000 for a Sunday. 8,000 tickets have been sold. Then they're off to Winnipeg. Expect 2 sellouts there. And then on the 25th, he goes to Vancouver. That's his hometown. That's been sold out 2 weeks in advance. Victoria is sold out. Kelowna expected sold out. Kamloops almost sold out. Prince George is about 50% of the way there, Ron, and they expect to sell out. I spoke to someone in the Western Hockey League today who said they've never seen anything like it in the history of the WHL.
Jeff's looking for free tickets.
Yeah,
Can you tell?
Aren't we all?
And a trip west.
The Esplanade, North Vancouver, whether it's Windfall Cidery or those many brew houses, will be happy about what a contribution Connor Bedard's making. Rick Bonus is on After Hours. Winnipeg tops in the Central Division at Calgary, still to come tonight.